How's it going, everybody? My name is Absalom and welcome to my channel. This is the All Collectibles walkthrough for the game Nioh 2, and honestly I've been really excited to play this game and get content made for this because I'm looking forward to what's to come. But in this video I'll be covering the tutorial as well as the first main mission, which is the Village of Cursed Blossoms, and I'll be going over every collectible, kind of the setup that I personally use, and then kind of the armor and everything like that. So welcome, and I hope you guys enjoy. And let me know if you guys want to see any future videos made for this game, and I'll be happy to work on that as well. So let's get this going with the tutorial, and all you got to do is work your way down the pier. And on the right here, if you don't like your character customization, you can peer into the water here and go back and change that at any time. So once you make it into the Tree of Life or whatever this is, you can pick a weapon, kind of learn how the guardians work and stuff like that. But honestly, guys, don't worry about your weapon choice too much, because you'll be picking up weapons as you play and you can trade them out and stuff, so you're not like locked into this permanently, so don't freak out about this. But I personally recommend using the katana as well as either the spear or the scythe, because it'll help in the later game. But like I said, you're going to be able to change it at any given time, so this is just kind of like what you start off with. After you select your first two weapons, now you can come to the middle here and move on with the progression, where you're going to choose a guardian spirit. And personally, I like to choose the wolf. The eagle is also really good, but it's kind of your own personal preferences. I personally like the wolf because it gives you more strength, but the eagle is really good as well because it gives you an extra heart. However, if you're using the katana, I definitely recommend using the wolf, just because of like the way it works with the weapons. But either way, just pick out whichever guardian you think is best for your playstyle, and then run through the tutorial it's about to give you about the yokai shift, and then head back to the middle to continue on with the tutorial. I do want to mention that I've cut out all the cutscenes just so I don't spoil anything for a future player, but if you are somebody that's just watching this to watch the game, then I have all the cutscenes uploaded on my channel that you can find, and I'll have it linked below as well as at the end of the video. So I have everything, I just didn't want to spoil anything, so I've cut out all the cutscenes. But after you watch that cutscene after leaving the tutorial, you'll be back here at the menu. This is kind of the overall hub for the game. So basically what I recommend at this point is just getting familiar with the menu, going to the starting place, and then looking at the dojo, and then you want to basically do the basic actions and training ground and just get familiar with how the game works, because that's going to help out tremendously when you're progressing into the first mission. So I would just familiarize yourself with all of that stuff. I'm not going to do it just because it'd be a waste of time in a sense for this walkthrough. However, I definitely recommend doing that before starting this mission. But when you're ready, go to the Village of Cursed Blossoms, and this is the first mission for Nioh 2. So there's 7 collectibles for this mission. They are called the Kodama, and they are these little green guys, really cute and friendly. So I'll definitely be showing you where all those are. But to start things off, go ahead and make your way to this first shrine over here on the right, and then you'll be able to equip some armor and get familiar with some of the leveling up systems and everything. I also highly recommend at this point just getting familiar with the in-game menus and really learning about all that. I'm going to go over it as much as I can, but it is a lot. And I just didn't want to waste a bunch of time going through all this tedious stuff. Definitely recommend reading it all. And if you guys want like a future video where I go through the menu as much as I can, I'm happy to make that video. But for the walkthrough purpose, I'm assuming that you've probably played the tutorial and gone through the dojo, and so you kind of understand what's going on. But I definitely recommend looking through it and getting ready. But for your first level up, I recommend boosting your stamina up 1. That will help out so much later on, especially if you're using a katana. It's going to help out a lot. Also, if you happen to have the DLC content in the boons category of the menus, you can go ahead and collect the Demon Horde armor. This will be really cool. It's a good armor to start off the game with, but if you don't have this, don't worry, because it's going to be easy to collect armor as you go on, so don't really freak out. This is just a way to look cool right off the bat. So once you get everything set up and you feel like you're ready to go, we can go ahead and start this All Collectibles walkthrough for Nioh 2. So if you guys are fans of From Software games, this game is very similar to Sekiro or Dark Souls in the sense of how it will punish you for making one little mistake, and the mechanics are very similar. So I guess just know that going into this game that you are gonna get upset, and that's okay. But just know that this game is not meant for a new player. It kind of just chucks you into the deep end right off the bat. So it's gonna take it's a high learning curve, but once you get it, you're gonna really start to enjoy this game. And I really had to play through the first couple missions like a lot, and then after that I felt really confident. So I guess just have the patience to get through the first little mission or two, and then you'll do a lot better, I promise. But in my walkthrough, I'm going to try my best to explain the different kind of enemies, how to attack, how to defeat the bosses in more than just like the one strategy. I want to kind of talk about multiple strategies just in case your playstyle is different from another player. So I'm gonna try my best to go through that, and especially as we get deeper into this walkthrough, I will start to really get a feel for everything and really figure out what everybody's looking for in a walkthrough. So I'm gonna try my best, but just know that going in, this game is very, very difficult. So I've gotten very angry at this game, and in a result, I've learned it really well. But just be ready. So all right. So in this first area, after you take out that first enemy, sneak by this this big demon here. You can just go to the left side. Just kind of wait for him not to be looking. It's a pretty forgiving visual thing. Like, he's not going to see you very easily. So just kind of sneak by him, collect all the stuff, and then the first collectible is going to be up here at the top of the hill on the right side right here. So like I said, the collectibles are called Kodamas, and they're these little green guys, and they wear little teacups for hats. But right here on the right, if you just interact with it, you'll collect the first collectible. So essentially what you're doing is returning the Kodama back to the shrines or the bonfires if you're a Dark Souls fan. So basically, once you get it back to the shrine, you can get a special offering from each Kodama. So you want to collect them as much as possible, and they will help you out in the future of the game. So that's the first one right there. And now there's one collectible down here in the middle, so it's a little bit tricky. Just wait for him to be facing away, and then once he gets a few steps away, you can go get it with ease, and then just go back the way you came originally. But that's how you get that one really easily. So just do that and then work your way back around, and then what you're going to want to do is make your way to this gate, and this will allow you to skip that whole arena in general in future use. So after you take out this enemy, go ahead and open up that gate right there. And now's a good time to practice the killing the gakis or gakis, however you say it. But these are these like basic enemies. They're kind of be like all over the world basically. They're not too hard to fight, but they can get pretty difficult. So I would recommend really getting good at that one right there and the other couple that are coming up, just to really understand how to fight them, and you'll be a lot better off because of it. So in this next area coming up, there's going to be 3 Gakis and 1 Yogi, and this is going to be the first time you have to fight something a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to first show you kind of like where you can go, because you can play it a few different ways. So this is the first Gaki, and just so you know, whenever they lean back, they'll spew that pink stuff, and it'll actually stun you for about 5 to 10 seconds. So it's definitely a problem, so I would just recommend backing up and then circling around that pink matter. But after you take out this first Gaki, you can go left or right, and so I recommend going left first and fighting the Yogi. That way, if you die, you didn't waste a bunch of time fighting Gakis just for no reason. So I would recommend beating the Yogi first, and then fighting the Gakis as well. So right up here is where I'm talking about. If you go left, you'll see that black smoke cloud, and that's going to be the Yogi. As soon as you step into the cloud, it'll spawn. If you go to the right, you can either go through the hut or around to the far side on the right, and there's going to be 2 Gokis. But I recommend first, if you are low health at all, or if you need more elixirs, then go back to the shrine, and you'll be able to refresh everything just like you could in Sekiro. It's very, very similar with the totems. But just refresh everything. You will have to fight that Gaki again, but that's not that big of a deal. So do that, and then get ready for the first Yogi fight. And this is where I'm going to recommend also getting any kind of leveling up or anything like that you might need, any armor or weapons that you've picked up on the few enemies that you've fought so far. It's random every time, so I can't recommend this 100%, but most likely you've picked up at least a weapon, and just make sure that you have your best loadout at the moment. So this is going to be the first tougher enemy. This is the Yogi, and once you spawn him in, there's a few different ways you can fight him. For a newer player, I recommend using the mid stance. This is usually what works best for that. It's kind of the best of both worlds, but I'm sure more experienced players will go with a high stance. But to fight this guy, you can do a couple things, and you can either cheese it, or you can fight him legitimately. If you want to cheese it, you can activate him, hit him once, and then run away, and then he'll despawn basically and go back to his original starting point, and that damage will stay. So that's one way you could do it, but I don't recommend that unless you were just really struggling. You probably will die a few times in this boss fight, or this mini boss fight. That's just part of it. But once you learn how to do it, you can start to fight more aggressively and stuff. So the way to look for his attacks, when he climbs up on that spear, he's going to throw a blade at you, or a spear at you. And so at that point, just dodge at the last minute. But the best way to defeat him that I've found for a newer player would be when he does that red attack where he has like a red mist. When he dives and body slams the ground, you can actually get off a heavy attack at that point, and it'll do a good bit of damage. And so you can do that in conjunction with your guardian attack, and that will do a good bit of stuff. And basically just wait for him to do those attacks, and then right here he body slams, and then you go and stab him, and so that does a good bit of stuff. And that's one way to do it. And then once you get more experience, you can start to block and fight more aggressive. So that's the best way to start off with this game and kind of get a feel for it before you have to fight the harder enemies later on. So to save time, I'm going to skip to the end of this fight, and once you defeat him and you deal that final blow, he will drop a soul core, and you can actually take that back to the shrines and purify it, and that'll help out with your guardian and your other attacks. So just right here, once you get them, you can go ahead and pick up that stuff, and then you can go on and move on to the other Gakis that are in this area. So while you're making your way back to the shrine, I want to touch on the items that are on the ground. So you'll be able to see a red and a blue sword stabbed into the ground, as well as other drops. The red and the blue sword is kind of like what I expect to be a tribute to Dark Souls, and they do have a very similar feature in the, if you ever played Dark Souls, how you could summon people. So the red ones are enemies, and if you fight them, you'll get a currency known as the cup. And so the cup, it will spawn in enemies in the blue swords. So different enemies require a different amount of cups, and so you have to stack those up and then summon enemies. So I recommend using those for different boss fights, or if there's an enemy that you just can't get past, you can summon somebody and then they'll help you out, and they'll be there as your companion until they die. So the blue ones summon, the red are for fighting and gathering cups. So to kind of briefly talk about the leveling up system, I'm boosting my stamina and strength because of the weapons I use, but at the bottom of the page when you're leveling up, it'll actually tell you which weapons it affects, more so than anything. And so based on whatever you're using in your personal loadout, I would definitely read those and then level up your attributes based on what you're using. But this is just for what I'm doing. I'm using the katana, so I'm really looking for stamina and strength. I also find that having more stamina really helps in the major boss fights when you have to block and stuff, so it's going to really help you later on if you boost stamina regardless, whereas the other stuff aren't really geared for what my style of play is at the moment. I will later on, but at the moment don't really worry about that if you're copying my loadout. So over here to the right, there is going to be 2 more Gakis and then a chest in that little hut. So go ahead and take care of them really quick and then gather those items. So now that you're moving into this next area, if you head to the right, there's going to be a good bit of Gakis, so this will be good practice for if you're still struggling with these enemies. And there's going to be a couple loot spots, so just make sure you look everywhere, but mainly the biggest thing I want to talk about is the second collectible that is over here to the left. So after you eliminate this one Gaki right here, if you just follow the path, you'll find it on the ground over here at the end of the path. Yep, so right here is the next Kodama. That is the second collectible of 7, and it is it's going to be returned to the shrine that's nearby, and all the shrines, I guess, really, but this will benefit you with a new attribute, so go ahead and pick that up, and then you'll be on to the next section. Okay, so definitely recommend going to the right over here with these 2 Gakis. If you go to the left, you're not going to have as easy of a time because you'll have to fight these samurais and they'll see you coming. So right here is where you'll fight these 2 guys and you'll have a really good attack for the other enemies. So go to the right here and fight these guys. So at this moment, you're probably familiar with these enemies at this point, but I wanted to show you guys what can actually happen with these guys. So if you leave one of the enemies down, then the other Gaki can come over and eat it and become way bigger, and he throws bigger boulders and his attacks do more damage, and he's essentially got more health and he's a lot harder. So I wanted to quickly show you guys what that looked like before moving on, just because if you leave one down, just be careful that you make sure to finish it. So once you're done, now come over to the left here and you can actually drop attack by dropping and holding square, and you'll just instantly kill that dude. And then you'll do the same thing for the other one, but there's actually two right here. So target on the left enemy and then wait for the bigger samurai to turn around and get to where that torch is. And then you'll just do the drop attack and absolutely annihilate this dude. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to cut your arms and your head off. But now move on to this samurai and just fight him. So this is most likely the first time you were fighting this enemy. He is not that difficult. He can block your stuff with his axe. However, he has a few attacks and he'll wear himself out. And when you see him kind of get tired, you can go in and hit your heavy blow with the mid stance and you'll absolutely destroy him in about 3 or 4 hits. So that's a pretty easy way. Once you get more fluid with everything, you can block. But if you do see him do the red attack, just run away and wait for him to fall over, because he can't run away very easily. So he'll fall over and then you can go and finish him easily. So that's how that works. And with items on the ground, I do want to recommend picking up everything, because you can sell them and make an offering later. So that's always nice. But if you come over here to the left, there's another loot collectible at the end of this path after you beat down this enemy right here. And you can go ahead and do that, and then you can make your way to the next shrine. So a little detail that I noticed is the Kodama, as you collect them and they return to the shrines, they actually start to appear on the shrines, and they have their own little animations and voices, and so you can start to like pay attention to those. They're pretty cute, and it's pretty fun. So when you make it to this shrine, go ahead and pray, and then you can actually level up your skills at this point. And that's really simple to understand. I know it's going to look really complicated, but all you have to do is open up the menu, make your way over to the skills, and then it's going to have one circle highlighted. So like right here, you'll see the sword is highlighted, and then you can just pick whichever one you think is going to attribute you the best. I like to level up the mid and the high stance first. But once those circles go away and they're not lit up, then you're done with the skills. So that's an easy way to figure that out. You don't have to read through everything unless you absolutely want to, but that's an easy way to organize something that's really chaotic. There's a lot of stuff you can do. At this point, I also recommend equipping the stone to your shortcut. This will help out with a couple other things later on. It's also just nice to have those at the moment, since we don't really have any shortcuts that we need to equip at this point. But this is a good inventory management section. Just make sure that you have the best armor, the best swords or weapons, and make sure that everything's equipped at your best. And then you can either make an offering at this point and gather some more gold if you want, or you can save it for the end and do that at the end of the level. So either way, it's up to you. It doesn't really affect you at the moment right now either way. So just go ahead and level up and do all the menu organization, and then you'll be ready to move on. I've also found for early game, this shrine right here allows you to grind out gold like a lot. So basically every time you reset the world by going to a shrine, it spawns all the enemies back and you'll be able to gather gold. So that's a really good place to do that. And you basically just go back and you fight those 3 or 4 enemies that are right there by that shrine, or this guy in the bridge, either way. And then you'll be able to gather up a lot of stuff to be able to level up. So that's a good place that I've noticed to grind out some gold like that. But now you're moving into the village. If you head to the left here, this is going to be where the 3rd collectible is. And right here, if you head to the left, you'll actually be able to sneak up on both of these enemies and take them out. I believe in this playthrough, I literally whiffed it, but I will show you how to do it. So you basically break those boxes and then you sneak around the back of the house. And if you don't suck like I did, you can break these boxes and just straight up annihilate that first dude. But I broke what I was trying to do and I got spotted. So either way, it's not that big of a deal. But there is an archer on the roof that you should be mindful of. But if you just stay on the move, it shouldn't be too bad. Alright, so now that you've taken him out, don't worry about the archer just yet, but there is the 3rd collectible. So go around the back of this house, and then to the right, if you go onto the back of this other house over here, and then you sneak around, there's actually the 3rd collectible right here on the ground. It's a little bit hidden, but I guess that's the point, right? So there's the 3rd one, and then once you're done with that, you can actually make your life a little bit easier for later in the game, and you can come up this hill and kick down this ladder, which essentially, go to this gate, and it's going to be locked. That's where you actually started off in the game. but you can actually kick a ladder down that allows you to go back to that arena. So just go up here to the left, and then you'll see it at the top of the hill. And as far as like fighting this guy, I don't recommend doing that early in the game. You can always return back to these worlds and fight these guys if you like the experience points and all that, but at the moment you are pretty much not going to be able to beat him unless you were just already playing this game or you just get lucky. So I would just recommend just bypassing him like you did earlier in the game and just waiting until you get leveled up more. But if you make your way onto these roofs, you can actually take out this enemy, that's the archer from earlier, and then you can go ahead and make your way to the back left where there's another ladder you can kick down, and then you'll be on the back side of the village. So I would just recommend searching every house and every little inch of this place because there are a lot of loot. I'm showing you where all of them are. However, there is definitely some of them can get tricky and you'll start to think that you've already been there. So just make sure that you absolutely check everywhere, and you will hear like a buzzing sound to let you know that there's loot nearby. And just do that, and it'll once you don't hear any more buzzing, you'll know that you've looted everything. But it took me a couple pass-throughs on the first playthrough to really get every item because it is a little tricky and there's more areas than you think, especially with breakable barriers. So just really make sure that you've looted this entire village. The only thing of real importance though is the third collectible, so once you get that, then there's nothing like of special importance that you've missed. It's just going to be general loot, and that's random every game, so every time you reset the world. But that is the only thing of real importance, is that third collectible. Also, I'm not saying that I did it, but maybe somebody that I know. Definitely not me though, definitely not me. I wouldn't do this, but if you fall in the water, or so I've heard, you will instantly die, so just be careful not to fall in the water. Not that, we would ever do that, but, just let your friends know not to fall in the water because, we're not going to make that mistake. But, okay, so once you clear out this village, now you are onto the left side is clear, and make sure that you take out any remaining enemies or whatever, but basically now you are ready to move on to the right side, and there's going to be another collectible, as well as our next little demon, Yogi. So that'll be fun, and it's not as hard as the first one, in my opinion. So just a real quick note, I had to reset the world, and that's why the archer's back. If you didn't have to reset, then basically that guy wouldn't be there. But that's all that was. But once you've looted, then go across this bridge, and there's going to be a couple enemies, and then you're basically going to be able to collect a good bit of loot right here, and then fight a demon with the 4th and the 5th collectible coming up here in just a second. I'm not even sure how that one guy didn't see me right there. I was right beside him. But I guess I got lucky. But yeah, you can take out these guys really quick, and it's not too bad. And then climb that ladder that guy's standing right beside, and you'll be able to progress and get a cheese kill essentially, and do a drop kill on one of the guys if you're lucky. Either way, you'll still get a good hit on the one dude. So that's a really good representation of how you fight in this game. Basically, if you let them attack a couple times, they're gonna wear themselves out, and then you'll be able to go in for the attack or block it, either way. But it's good with these basic enemies; they'll just fall over. So that's the way to play that, and that's how you go god tier, I guess. But yeah, climb this ladder right here, and then you'll be able to kill this enemy and the other one, and then you'll be able to kind of loop around and do a drop kill. It's pretty nice. I don't think he's gonna make it. I don't know. So right there, I'm holding R1, and after I kill him, and I can regain my Kai, and as well as collect the XP kind of thing. And so it's really nice to rebuild your stamina, basically. So right here, if you are fast enough, you can get the drop kill on this guy because he won't be up here. But either way, you can just knock him off and then do it. So But there's two little Gakis in this room down below me, and you can just go and drop them, or you can go in the doorway. But it's way more fun to do it this way. So right there, and then there's gonna be a chest in here as well. So again, I just want to quickly remind you guys, if you see an item and you don't really want it, you can still pick it up and then make an offering later, and that will allow you to get more gold to level up. So it's always worth it to pick stuff up, and you can also send stuff to Storehouse, which is basically like your reserves. But right here is the 4th collectible in this corner, so you can break away those little boxes, and then you'll be able to interact with him eventually. And that'll be your 4th Kodama, and that will return to the shrine. And then we are on to the 5th collectible, the 5th Kodama, and is right up here, but it's on the other side of a demon. So basically get ready and loot up if you've missed anything, and then you'll be able to move on to the next mini boss. So right here, I would just do some weapon management. Make sure that you are 100% good to go. Basically, before any mini boss or major boss, just make sure you do all the management you can. And I love how they have little exclamation points on anything that's new, and then you can compare it and kind of check out to see what's stronger, and you can sort items. So just take the time to really set up your menus, because then it'll benefit you for the rest of the game. So basically, just set up whatever you think is your best armor and best weapons, and then you'll be able to move into this. And as far as this Yogi, I know I didn't really show it the first time, so this time I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to play aggressive, since I went more of a passive route for your first encounter. But since this is the second one, I wanted to really show you how to fight it with blocking and attacking. So I'm gonna stop talking as much and just only talk about little tactics that I use, and hopefully you guys can understand a little bit more on how to fight it more aggressive. So one of the things I'm doing is kind of, I know I said fighting aggressive, but I'm basically falling back, because if you block, it'll waste stamina and then you don't get as much damage. So I'm kind of waiting for him to attack just like the small enemies, and then I'm going in for it. But if I see him with the red smoke, I will go in heavy and attack after he's done. But whenever you see the basic attacks, it'll actually flash on a side that it's coming from, and then you can block on, and you'll know what attacks are coming. And so if I see like a little shine, I'll definitely block, because you'll be able to time it right, and then you won't really lose stamina. So it's all about timing, just like Sekiro. If you've played that at all, it's very, very similar. So basically, just want to wait for him to attack, wait for the red, and then go in heavy, and then you'll be able to knock him out in maybe 10 or 12 blows with the mid stance. As for the fire that you see me throwing, that is a way to block an attack, or I guess more stop an attack. So if you see them rearing back to hit you with their axe or whatever, you can throw that fire and it'll actually stop their attack if you time it right. So that's something, it doesn't really do much damage, but it does help you defend yourself a lot more. So here's the 5th collectible, the 5th Kodama, and it is right here behind these boxes after you defeat the demon. So go ahead and collect that, and now you're only 2 more away from having all the collectibles in the first mission. So after that, if you make your way to this little hut here on the left, you can actually speak with the guy at the door, and if you do it once and then cancel it and then you do it a second time, he'll actually give you an item that you can store into your inventory, and then you can be done with him. But it's just got a little thing. You can get a lantern, And basically then you can go over here to the gate and open that up, which will link you back to that shrine from earlier and allow you to progress without having to go through the entire village. So this is where at this point, if you really wanted to like level up, you could just sit here at this shrine and kill the 4 or 5 enemies to your right, and then just come back to the shrine, reset, and do it about, I think about 10 to 15 times. I was able to get about 4,000 gold, which is enough to level up at the most likely the point you're at later on that you'll need to have for the boss fight. So I would just sit here, hit it, go to the right, kill the 2 on the left and kill the 1 on the right, and then come back and reset. And that is it's a little tedious, but it's not too bad, and you'll be able to level up fairly quickly. And like I said, boost your stamina, boost your strength if you're using the same loadout as me. Otherwise, just read the bottom of the attributes, and it'll actually tell you what it actually benefits. So right here, if you move on to the left, now you can take out this enemy and loot up, and then you'll be into the final stretch of this mission. So for me on my first playthrough, this is when the mission actually starts to get a little bit more tedious. I think this is kind of the turning point in the mission. This is when you've kind of gone through the tutorial, they expect you to know how to fight, and this is where things get real. So right here, there's that enemy, there's the archer on the hillside, and then there's one kind of sleeping right here. If you just hit him once and then run away, that'll allow you to come over here to the archer and then just like sprint at him, he'll put away his archer, and then you can knock him off. Be careful though, that other guy will come at you, so if you just hit the archer one time, he'll fall off usually, and then you can jump off after him and then finish this guy when he lands on the ground. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's not too difficult, and you can honestly grind this out for XP as well. It's a little bit more tedious or time consuming. I actually found it faster to grind the place I was talking about earlier than going through this one, but either way, it's up to you. But here's the 6th collectible right here next to this little lantern on the ground, and now you are just one more collectible away from finishing them all for mission 1. So once you do that, now you can come over here and collect this cute little cat, and it is a little companion. It'll actually help you defeat enemies, and it's really cute, and it's like a puffer fish mixed with a cat. So go ahead and collect it right here, and it'll stay with you for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so this is the final stretch of this mission. You are now going to head into the Dark Realm armed with a sword and with your best friend Scampus the cat, and you are ready to take on the final few enemies here before you fight the boss. So here's where things can get a little bit difficult. Now this shrine is being protected, or I guess reserved by the enemy that's hiding out in that hut. So there's 3 little Gakis here, and they can be a little tricky because if you go through, you can actually trigger all 3 to come at you at once. So I recommend just hitting the first one, backing off, letting Scampus do his thing, and then you can go ahead and finish off one at a time. Otherwise it can get a little bit tricky. So there's an example of what that pink stuff does. I got hit, so it actually freed me. However, if you get stunned, it is about 10 seconds. But fight them all, and then once you're ready, you can move on to the last major enemy, and then it'll be time for the boss fight. Now, if you're confident in beating this guy, then you can go ahead and kill this enemy off to the left. However, I recommend just waiting until you've beaten him, and then you can come and collect this XP just so you don't waste any gold. But yeah, you can always come over here and just drop shot this guy right off the cliff, and then pick up the next little loot item, and you can circle back around. But like I said, if you just wait till after you beat the next enemy, then you'll know for sure if you're able to move on or not. So that's another little loot spot. But once you circle back around, you can make your way up into that temple to fight the next major enemy. So this guy that's hiding out in this temple is basically creating the Dark Realm, and he's an Inki, so he is a monkey that's been transformed by a Yogi spirit. So he's not too happy to see us, and he's a little bit more difficult than the Yogi. So what I recommend doing is getting over here, targeting him, and then hitting your heavy attack. You can maybe get off a couple other attacks, but basically you want to just do as much damage as you can very quickly and then back away. He's going to chase you out into the courtyard here, and then you can start to fight him just like you would with the Yogi. However, he's going to have a few extra attacks. Now, on his red attacks, you don't want to go rush in there like you did previously because he will absolutely destroy you. But you can do it that way. You can come out here and hit him with the arrows and then run away, like I said earlier on the very first Yogi. So it's kind of up to you, but this guy can be very tough, and then it's also really annoying having to reset a bunch of times and fight all the Gakis and get back to him. So you definitely will get frustrated this part, so just bear with it, and keep in mind you can use your bow and arrow, you can use your attacks and your specialists with your guardians. So either way, I recommend one of those three strategies and you will eventually get it, but this is a really good learning session. I know it's going to piss you off, and you're going to die a lot most likely in this part, but it is a really good practice for later on in the game, and I recommend going through that torment of learning how to fight this Inki and learning how to fight the Yokis, because it's going to benefit you a lot because you're about to have a boss fight. So I recommend just getting good at that and doing it more aggressive, and don't take the passive route on this boss. Make sure that you fight it legitimately, and then you'll be a lot better off for it later on. So go to this shrine and pray, and now you are ready to collect the last collectible for this chapter. So now you can go ahead and level up. You can make offerings to the Kodama, and that'll allow you to get more emerita or gold, and so you can start to level up that way. This is where I would really get set up, and if you are not pushing a limit of like 7 to 8 stamina or at least 7 or 8 strength, then I would recommend grinding out and the shrine that I mentioned previously to get up to a higher level and make sure that your weapons are leveled up, because now you're about to fight the first boss, and it's going to really destroy you if you don't have proper setup with these boss fights. So at this point, just make sure that you are absolutely all the way set up, at least a 7 or higher for the stamina. So that's what I would recommend doing before proceeding. However, it's up to you, I guess. You can go ahead and take this guy on, but I wouldn't summon anyone at this point until you are familiar with the boss's attacks, because you were just going to waste that, and it's very precious, those cups. So just kind of go in and die a few times is what I recommend, because you're going to learn it, and you're gonna be able to start over like right away. So don't waste any like leveling up or any kind of elixirs or anything like that. So just go in and learn it first, but make sure that you are a high enough level. So using the inner shrine key that you picked up off the Inki, you can open this gate, and then the enemy right here, you can just quickly kill him off, and then the 7th collectible, or the 7th Kodama, is over here by the gate to the left after you kill him. You can go ahead and pick that up, and you will actually have all the collectibles. And I love that this game will actually tell you that you have all the collectibles, just because that is so nice when you're trying to hunt for collectibles. I hate when games just don't tell you and you have to finish the game. So thank you guys so much for making it that way. I really appreciate that. But that is the 7th out of 7 collectibles, and you can go ahead into the shrine and reset the world if you'd like, if you need any extra elixirs or anything like that. You can also just grind this out and just keep killing that one enemy over and over to pick up a bunch of health elixirs, because it's about a 1 in 5 chance he'll drop one of those, especially if you make an offering and buy the health drop boost. So it's up to you, but that is a good way. Once you kind of familiarize yourself with the boss, you can actually grind out for extra health if that's something that you think you're going to need. So right here is what I'm showing. I'm like a level 8 stamina, and strength I'm at a 7. So that's at least what I recommend getting up to, just because that's going to help out so much with what I'm doing. Alright, so behind this gate is the horse demon named Mezuki, and Mezuki is absolutely thrilled to have company over, so he is going to welcome you with open arms by absolutely murdering you if you walk up to him. Now, the best approach for this guy is to play very aggressive, and it's going to take some practice, no doubt. So basically with this, you're going to want to use your yokai ability, the basic one, to actually block his attacks. and when you see him start to attack, you can hit that. It'll stop him from attacking, and then you'll be able to get at least 1 or 2 hits on him. But keep in mind that you need to save some stamina for possible blocking on his return counters. So whenever you see those souls as well, you can run at him at an angle and actually get like at least 1 or 2 hits off as well, like I do right here. And so that is one approach. Now, if you were having a hard time, like a really hard time, and you were just getting really frustrated with this boss, then here's the strategy I recommend. Go ahead and get your cups by getting the red bonfires, like the Dark Soul bonfires, and go ahead and collect enough cups. Find the highest level blue sword on the ground, and you can just run around the whole mission and find the highest level person. Now use that person and summon them, and then come back to the boss fight. Now, I recommend using this if you are just now starting and you kind of have an idea. This guy will help you out so much, and it is one way to do it. But if you were a completionist and you really don't want help, then that strategy about blocking his attacks and then using the yokai ability to counter his attacks, you can destroy him. It'll take a lot longer, but you can definitely do it using all your different abilities. But this is the best way if you are a new player and you just want to get this done. Then I definitely recommend summoning him. And then the strategy here is when your player is attacking, come behind the Mezuki and then just destroy him with everything you've got. And keep in mind your guardian attack, you can actually just start wrecking this guy. So I would recommend doing that and then backing off so that he actually locks onto your summoning teammate, and then that way you can recover health or regain your ability, and so it just allows you to recover and start to do more damage. So that's the strategy I recommend, and just learn his attacks and block and do damage as much as you can whenever you've countered his attack. So that is the easiest way I can explain it. I might have a more in-depth guide on the bosses after I'm done with this playthrough, but this is the best strategy I can come up with at the moment. So just good luck. It's going to be frustrating, but once you get it, you'll be like, oh my god, I understand this game, and it'll make things so much easier. So good luck, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. I also want to point out that if you're using a spear, there's actually an attack that you can activate. It's in the skill tree, and you can actually make it to where you can hold L1 and square and stab your spear into the ground, and then you'll kind of flick it up and it'll block everybody. So that is a really effective counter on this boss in particular. So if you are using the spear, that is a good one to level up, and I think it's in the mid-range attacks. But that is at least one more strategy. But either way, collect the soul core, and now you are done with the first mission, Village of the Cursed Blossoms. Now that is everything. That is all the collectibles for mission 1, and I look forward to making the second chapter and the rest of the game as quickly as possible. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see any extra videos or any parts of these walkthroughs. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Absalom, and I hope to see you in my next video.